Welcome to Fishing Fridays radio podcast, where we go behind the scenes and uncover the tactics and strategies top fishermen are using to catch more fish, dominate tournaments, and how you can get those same results. Here is your host, Mike Grady.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dig In Fishing Fridays. I'm your host, Mike Grady. I'm excited today because today we have Greg DiPalma here. Greg is a Bassmaster Elite angler from Millville, New Jersey. This is Greg's first year in the Bassmaster Elite series. He's the owner of Upper Bay Guide Service in Northeast Maryland, and he has qualified multiple years for the Elites. Greg is also one of the best rivermen in the Northeast. So, everybody, welcome Greg.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Awesome, Greg. So, tell us, you're down on the Harris Chain practicing for Placa, huh?
Yeah, so I came down on the Harris Chain here in Florida. So our official practice, our tournament's on February 7th. So we're only allowed basically 3 days of practice prior to the event. So I came down on the Harris Chain, you know, just kind of get in the swing of things as far as fishing goes. Because up where I live in New Jersey right now, it's, you know, we're dealing with ice and cold weather. So, you know, I come down here to kind of get back in the groove.
Well, welcome to Florida. And my first real question for you is, tell us, how did you start fishing? From, you know, just going out as a kid, or, you know, how you started fishing for fun, and then what led you to starting to fish competitively?
Okay. So basically, you know, I kind of grew up in an outdoor family, if it was either hunting or fishing. One of the things that I can say I'm very fortunate for is, where I grew up at in Millville, New Jersey, I actually grew up on a river system. So as a young kid, I mean, you know, as far back as I can remember, I was fishing, you know, perch fishing or catfishing. I was always doing one or the other, either, you know, all summer long or just right after school. But every day I was out there. And then, you know, I kind of got introduced to bass fishing at a pretty young age. I would say probably around 5 is, you know, I kind of remember, you know, starting to hunt them down and chase them down. But, that's kind of where it all started for me. And then from there, I kind of just hopped into club level fishing, did that for a handful of years, and, you know, worked my way up and started fishing federations. And, you know, then I started fishing the Bassmaster Opens, and here we are today, you know, fishing the Elite Series for 2019.
Awesome, man. So let me ask you, in making that transition from fishing your local clubs and then the circuits, what's been your biggest challenge or problem you found in moving up to the Elite Series?
You know, I would say it's probably the average answer too. It's, you know, it's a huge financial commitment. That's definitely the biggest thing without a doubt, for sure.
So it's a big financial commitment, but what have you really learned about, you know, fishing at that level that's made you successful?
Well, I'll tell you, you know, fishing the Bassmaster Opens is kind of, it's one of the best stepping stones I believe there is in all of fishing, no matter which other circuit there is. I think the Bass Opens is where you want to cut your teeth because, number one, the Bass Opens, in my opinion, are probably the most competitive fishing that you can ever come across. And the reason being is because, number one, you know, you got 200 boats on average in all the tournaments you fish. You have basically all your local sticks on every body of water that's on the circuit that year. You have people that are already fishing the Elite Series fishing it. You have people that are fishing the FLW Tour that are fishing it. So there's just basically the whole entire field is stacked head to toe. And then you got guys like myself that are just hungry and trying to make it to the Elite Series or the FLW Tour, however they're doing it. But you know, that's definitely a place I would start for sure.
So can you talk to us a little bit about, you know, when you're in a tournament, especially at your level, do you actually have a plan? Do you actually take a look at, do you have like a set plan for any tournament, or are you coming up with a plan for a specific body of water, like, you know, Harris or when you get up to the St. John's?
Yeah, so, you know, one thing we always keep in account is obviously which part of the season is it, you know, you can gauge it that way, but to basically say you're going to set a plan prior to an event, it's almost impossible because if you fish that way, 9 times out of 10 you're going to burn yourself. You basically got to go into every single event, you know, taking all your past history and everything you've learned up to this point and trying to apply it, basically setting up a new game plan. So you got to kind of approach every tournament. You have to approach every tournament with an open mind, basically, because if you don't, you can really hurt yourself in the long run, for sure.
So what's the hardest part about getting on a new, unfamiliar part of, body of water, that kind of thing?
Well, the hardest part, one of the biggest things that I would say sets apart a good fisherman to an excellent fisherman, honestly, is being confident. Without a doubt, not just, so much confidence in your ability to find fish, just confidence in yourself, knowing that, just keep on doing what you're doing and you'll come out on top almost every time, it seems like. If you just, one of the things that happens in fishing a lot, on the Bassmaster Elite Series level, we're not allowed to get any information. Prior to fishing the Elites and the Bassmaster Opens, there's a lot of information that's out there, not only just on the internet, but people, kind of network together and stuff. And one thing that I see happens a lot is a lot of guys try to chase a fight that somebody else is on. And in my opinion, that's a lot of times one thing that can hurt you easily, but it's another thing. It's one of the hardest things to do, because you're basically trying to take what somebody else is telling you, getting out of possibly what you're used to doing or what your strength is by chasing somebody else's fight. So I kind of don't try to do that, because I know that can hurt you a lot of times.
So can you tell us, with your experience, and I know you don't have a set plan, but, you're kind of going by feel is what I understand. And what kind of results are you looking for, before you start moving to another, section of the lake or the body of water?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the reason why it is because I believe a lot of people fish a lot differently. The way that I typically fish is, I don't want to say the seat of my pants, but, if I have a thought or I see something, I don't set myself to a set part of the lake ever. I just never practice that way. I just kind of get in the driver's seat, and if I see something, either if I'm graphing or if I see something on the bank, that's how I fish it. I kind of just, I almost want to say that I have an eye for it, because I've been doing it so long that I can just pick stuff out. So that's kind of how I fish. There is guys that will section themselves off to a certain part of the lake the entire day, and I can't do it that way, because, growing up in South Jersey, it's just, the way that I rounded myself off is because I would just move, fish fast. That's just how I've always fished. So, that's how I would set my plan up, basically, if you were to say it that way. I just would fish and put it together as I go. I mean, every day is kind of like a puzzle. So if you do get a bite, there's always a reason why. So if you can distinguish what the reason was every time, it makes a big difference.
Now, when you're working through your plan, and I ask this a lot of different guys, are you keeping all this stuff in your head, or are you actually taking notes as you go?
No, it's a funny thing, man. Like us bass fishermen, for example, we can almost remember, I would say, almost every fish catch, every tournament, all that stuff. It's all in our mind. And, you ask us anything outside of that, my girlfriend would be like, what did I just say? I'm like, I have no idea. So it's kind of weird how we're so passionate about this sport. I think that's why most of us, record areas, spots in our mind. Waypoint-wise, different story. If you're out in the middle of a lake and you're on a grass bed, you got to have a GPS to keep you on top of the spot, because there's no way you can line yourself up perfect. But otherwise, we do remember a tremendous amount of stuff. It's pretty crazy, actually.
So along that same line, what have you learned, or what's made you better since you started fishing at such a high level? What's the one thing you focus on?
I would say one of the things is versatility. There's not one bait in particular that I can say that would be my favorite or my strength, because I kind of been faced with a lot of different scenarios. So I've fished every which way for years. So it's not that it's that. I would just say the number one thing is just confidence in what you're doing all the time. That's the number one thing.
All right. Well, lastly, as we come to the end of the interview, because I want to make this quick, because I know you're out on the boat right now, I'd like to ask these two questions, because this is what our listeners really want to know, especially from the pro guys, is what's your most successful fishing secret? What's the thing that sets you apart from the guys that are not at your level yet?
Most successful secret. That's a really good question, man, because, I don't want to say that it's strength, but, moving quick, but being able to basically fish something really thorough, but at a really high speed for me is probably one of the biggest keys.
And then, of course, I know you just said that you don't have a favorite bait that you go to, but have you found starting with a particular bait or a lure, have you found success that way?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I don't want to say that that's a favorite, but I just want to say that there's definitely some things that can stick out as far as bait-wise. One in particular, by far, I would say is, if I had to pick one, it's called Riot Baits. It's a Venema jig, and what it is it's your normal flipping style jig, but it's got a really, really small, compact design to it. And it's the cool part about it is it kind of combines power and finesse together. So you're getting the best of both worlds. You still have the bait where you can move really quick and fish fast, but it has such a small profile that, on the tough days on really bad conditions, you can still get bit on this bait because it has that small profile. So the Riot Baits Venema jig is definitely the one.
Nice. Is Riot one of your sponsors?
Yes. Yeah. So myself, my other teammate Jamie Hartman, and Matt Stark, the owner of Riot Baits, all three of us have been put on basically designing this bait. And so, we knew what we were looking for when we were looking to design it, and, Matt nailed it perfect. So it's definitely one to check out.
All right. Well, why don't you tell our listeners where they can check it out and how they can get it for themselves?
Yeah, so you can go on either riotbaits.com and get them, or if you wanted to, you can go on another tackle store that I deal with. They carry them also. It's sfptackle.com. And, they have all the colors and all that good stuff. So you can go to either one, whatever suits you guys.
Could you repeat that URL one more time?
Yes. Either riotbaits.com or sfptackle.com.
Got it. Greg, this interview, you've given our listeners a ton of great information. I want to thank you for being on our show.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having me.
And Greg, good luck in the Elite Series this year.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Fishing Fridays Radio Podcast. If you'd like to be notified anytime we release a new episode, just hit subscribe and like this episode. Or you can subscribe over at fishingfridaysradio.com. In addition to that, we would love to send you a free gift. You can find that free gift at giveaway.digandanchors.com. Thanks again for listening.